Hello, my name is Nick White. I'm currently a PhD candidate at the TU Delft and the Leiden University Medical Center. I have a background in mechanical engineering and I'm currently working in the Department of Biomechanical Engineering at the TU Delft. In my research I've been working on an implantable medical device, and about 6 months ago we founded the startup company Access Innovations. I'm one of the co-founders and I currently focus on the engineering components and the preclinical development of this device. My PhD is split 50-50 between Delft and Leiden. I live in Rotterdam myself. When I come to Leiden, I typically take the train, and when I go to Delft, I usually come on the bike. In my free time, I enjoy doing exercise. I run quite a lot. I'm currently training for the Rotterdam Marathon in 2025. And aside from that, I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I really enjoy cooking, and I see it as kind of a creative outlet for me next to my PhD work. So the conceptual idea for a dynamic AVF, or an AVF that you can open close, actually originated from the Leiden University Medical Center, from a nephrologist and a vascular surgeon. These are people that see these patients on a daily basis and know exactly what they have to endure and what are the complications that they face day in, day out. They quite quickly came to the conclusion that they don't have the skill set to develop a medical device to enable this, and that's exactly where I came in. I started during my master in mechanical engineering. We're currently transferring the academic prototype into an industrialized version, and we're setting up the upcoming in vivo animal studies with this industrialized prototype of the device. During my PhD, after developing the initial prototypes, we started to do some small-scale animal studies. In these animal studies, with a few iterations, we managed to show that the device can work implanted into the neck of a goat or a sheep. We have been able to show that we can non-invasively control the AVF and that we are able to do this consecutively for several weeks on end. After showing this, we decided it was time to spin out and set up a company to allow us to approach the first in human studies with all the regulatory steps necessary to get to such a point. Throughout my academic work, the focus was not strictly speaking on the IMDD or on any of the CE marking steps. However, this is something you need to keep in mind throughout the process. You need to document everything, you need to plan ahead. So there has been already a substantial amount of work, but this amount of work is only increasing now we're approaching the formal steps. So first of all, we need to gather some preclinical in vivo data to show that it actually works and can be of benefit. And then we need to do all the regulatory steps to show that the device is, for example, biosafe and does not cause any significant risks to the patient. And then after the first initial clinical studies, we will set up a pivotal trial which would allow us to generate all the evidence we need to get to a CE mark. So having been trained as a mechanical engineer, my focus was obviously on the device aspect. However, during my thesis and my PhD, I did end up working more and more with clinicians and surgeons. We're developing a device which obviously needs to be implanted into humans, and this requires knowledge from both the clinical and technical sides. So I currently find myself really in between the clinical and technical fields, which I find very, very inspiring. I find the collaboration between these two fields extremely cool, and I think there is a huge amount to gain from improving these collaborations. When starting my master's thesis and my PhD, I primarily intended to stay working in an academic setting. I was to develop this device in the university and do primarily research to show that this device works and can be of benefit to patients. However, when getting more familiar with the MDR, we came to the conclusion that we need a huge amount of both time and effort to actually be of benefit to patients and gain CE marking. For us, the only solution was to set up a spin-off company. And in doing so, we have freed up a large amount of time and money to be able to take these necessary steps. For me, the things that I was potentially the most surprised by when entering this whole trajectory were, first of all, that you cannot start early enough with all the documentation for the MDR, as it's a huge amount and you need to be able to trace and prove everything. The second is that it's a very, very long process, so you need to be prepared to put a lot of time and effort into it for quite a substantial amount of time. And lastly, to gain CE marking, you need a very different mindset than you do when you're doing academic work. And this really is a change and you need to practice, but in the end, it's all very logical and you just need to follow the rules essentially.